Let's see if this is going. Also, I have very good news that I can share. Cool. Just checking the audio still. Because there we go. I'm very excited to say that my employment insurance, aka unemployment for those of you who are non-Canadians, finally got approved. And I'm now officially on EI. And so if you're new to the channel, I lost my job back in March. I was laid off, and literally I've had no income since then, and I've been trying to find work. I've been applying like crazy to jobs. Y'all have been very gracious with donations, and I just got through on EI today, and so now I don't have to worry too much about if something were to happen. I'm covered, I'm good, I'm on EI, and I don't know, it's just, it's such a good feeling to know you're safe, Just such a good feeling. Anyways, we'll continue with this game, but I am so happy that I can announce that. It's such a good feeling. It is such a good feeling. And it's like I've been trying to find work for so long now. Haven't heard anything back, so it's good to know that while people make decisions, if they are going to interview, that I'm good for a bit. Anyways, let's get on. You open your eyes. The bed isn't warm. The room is filled with artificial light from the ceiling. The solid metal door is closed. Normally you'd stretch for a bit. On some mornings, you'd probably throw the quilt over yourself and snooze a moment longer. But that was before. The way you woke up now, you are fully conscious. No grogginess, nothing weighing you down, just the nagging need in the back of your head. Hunger. Not as severe as the last time, but unmistakably there. You get up and open the door to the main room. A digital clock on the TV shows you the time, 9:04 p.m. You walk over to the blinds and retract them cautiously. The only light coming in is NYC's artificial nighttime luminescence. So that's what your waking hours are going to look like now. You miss the sunlight already. You're seriously considering just walking out of the apartment and figuring this all out by yourself, but then you come back to the memory of Kadir's exotic sword being raised in the gallery. Maybe sticking around isn't that bad of an idea after all. You keep jumping channels for around half an hour and then switch to streaming services. Almost as if the universe had a sense of irony, you catch True Blood in the flood of recommendations. The doorbell rings. It's Sophie. Good evening, Porcelain. Slept well? Like a baby, like a dead man? It's not exactly like a dead man. Curious wording, but not that far from the truth, I suppose. No use dwelling on it. I think you agree with time. You made the right choice yesterday. I can teach you many things about yourself, your blood, its desires and its powers. We will begin tonight. You are hungry, yes? I'm sure you are. Our kind always is. There is only one remedy, the blood. The drinks we had yesterday at Elysium are not the usual way you slake your thirst. Elysium, a place where vampires may gather without fear of harm. Court functions in Elysium are strictly kept apart from mortals and surrounded by secrecy, but the Elysium building itself could be a public museum, a gallery, or club. Berghain is an anarch Elysium. The Louvre is a Camarilla Elysium. Good to know. So tonight I will assist you in your first foray into hunting. You need to learn to sense the kind of blood you desire, to understand how you can use the kind's vulnerabilities to your advantage. I'm ready to learn. Well, I'm ready to learn. Let's get started. Such eagerness, or is it just your hunger making you impatient? You will find that drinking moderate amounts of it regularly will keep the hunger and the whispers of the beast away. You might think yourself monstrous, but there is a balance to be found here. The kiss gives the kind pleasure. You might remember this from your own embrace. Some can even become addicted to the sensation, but if you do it right, they tend to misremember your feeding. The embrace, the act of transforming a mortal into a vampire. The embrace requires the vampire to drain her victim and then replace that victim's blood with a bit of her own. The kiss, an act of drinking blood, usually from a mortal. The kiss causes feelings of ecstasy in those who receive it. After all, vampires do not exist. They are myths, fairy tales, and pop culture mainstays, correct? She gives you a sly, knowing smile. That is why the masquerade is so important, and even more crucial when you feed. How do you avoid being seen? How do you cover your track? How do you avoid being seen? While feeding. You isolate your prey, or you choose the right circumstances. People tend to avert their gaze when they see a couple intertwined in public. Love bites are easy to explain away. Some of us keep willing herds, or even just individual kind who desire the kiss. That comes at a higher risk these nights, though, so I would not recommend it to a young kindred like yourself. Feeding from the same area repeatedly can be dangerous, but by branching out, you risk the ire of other kindred on whose domains you trespass. Lucky for you, NYC is more forgiving in this regard. Domain, yep. The area of particular vampire's influence. Princes claim entire cities as their domains, sometimes allowing lesser vampires to claim domain within. New York is in somewhat of a unique position. Many of its neighborhoods remain contested or unclaimed. The reason for this is a lesson for another time, but keep the following in mind. Take opportunities to feed when they present themselves these upcoming nights. As long as you hunt cautiously and respect the masquerade at all times, you should be fine. To wit, I want you to join me for a trip tonight. Come downstairs. Gregory is waiting for us. The busy streets fill the air with the traffic noise, pedestrian chatter, and a mix of smells that disorient you momentarily. These warm bodies contain what you want, what you need. You catch yourself. Did you really just think of these people as mere sources of blood? It takes a nudge from Sophie to break your train of thought. Her driver opens the door for her and then tips his hat to you, gesturing to the back of the car. The car casually joins the somewhat thin New York traffic. It's still busy in a way only one of the biggest cities in the world can be, but compared to the daytime commute, it's a pleasant drive. You barely have the time to gather your thoughts and formulate new questions before the car comes to a stop. You're among the tall skyscrapers that make up Manhattan's iconic skyline. You feel a pang of emotion as you realize this is where you took part in the exhibition just 2 nights prior. Same address, and you suspect same hall. To what ends has it been repurposed tonight? Come, Porcelain, park the car, Gregory, will you? The driver just nods and Sophie gets out. You join her and the two of you walk through the glass doors together, then take the elevator up. You first notice an empty stage with the instruments of a string quartet still in the back, then taken the few dozen chairs in front of it. The concert seeming concluded, the patrons, all smartly dressed and posh, have spread out all over the hall. Sophie strides confidently inside, produces an invitation from her purse that she flashes in front of a security guard. You follow close and are let through without issue. Let's start easy. A social setting like this would usually prove quite challenging to an inexperienced kindred, but consider this evening a small gift from your patron. I'm hoping to procure you a willing vessel. Just remember what I told you about taking small sips. This one I have a soft spot for. Don't damage her. Now let's see here. There he is. She notices somebody in the crowd, flashes a heart-melting smile, and suddenly even you feel drawn to her. You haven't thought about it before, but it's laid clear before you in this moment. Sophie is beautiful. Just looking at her is a privilege. Just being with her makes you feel elated. Everybody in the crowd, but especially the man who's almost tripping over himself to reach her, clearly agrees. Edgar, I'm so happy to see you. How is your daughter? Is she with you? Oh, there she is. Julie, my girl, come over, please. There is somebody I'd like you to meet. The young woman who walks across the hall can't be more than 19 years old. It's clear from her mismatched earrings and the partially faded purple hair dye that she doesn't fit this crowd. Julie, this is Porcelain. I think the two of you should get acquainted while I talk business with your dad. Awfully boring stuff, I assure you. I'm positive you'll like each other. The girl gives you a shy smile and nods towards the balcony stairs. You follow, somewhat unsure what it is exactly Sophie expects you to do. What do you think? She wants you to drink her blood, my dude! You reach a secluded space from which the entire lobby is visible. All eyes are on Sophie. They listen intently, then laugh when she does. Julie saves you the trouble of figuring out the next step. If you're a Sophie, then I guess you're, I mean that you know. She puts her wrist to her lips and gives herself a theatrical nip, then looks at you, embarrassed, but also hopeful. Yeah, I do. I don't know what you're talking about. What, you're into that sort of thing? Yeah, I do. Yes, I do. She takes off her jacket, unbuttons her sleeve, then rolls it up. You see a tattoo of a cat in an astronaut suit, one feline eye winking at you. There, just enjoy. A perfectly awkward smile and a blush. Yeah. You take her forearm in your hands. A quick look around confirms nobody's watching and no security cameras cover this area. You bite down gently. It's surreal. She's just given you her blood of her own volition. How is this possible? What about the masquerade? You need to ask Sophie. Your thoughts disappear amid the bliss. There's just the taste. Sweet, fresh, sanguine? I don't know. You drink. And drink. And drink. No, stop. You tear away from the girl harder than you wanted. Still, the bite leaves just tiny punctures. Almost as if by instinct you lick them clean, and the two holes become concealed, just like that. Julie is now leaning on the wall, pale, wobbly on her feet, but happy? She lets out a dreamy sigh, opens her eyes. A few tears fall into her shirt, tears of joy. Thank you. Please, can you walk me downstairs, please? My dad, he doesn't know. Thinks it's a condition. Miss Langley told him so. She leans on you and requests you walk her over to a bench. She takes a seat and smiles at you. The crowd around Sophie disperses slowly. Looking at her now, only some residual awe hangs in the air. Yes, she's pretty, maybe even beautiful, sure, but not your type. What came over you before? Well, her vampire powers, dude. Duh. You walk over to her. Edgar, dear, it was splendid talking to you, but we need to get going. Give Julie my best wishes. Come with Porcelain. Gregory is waiting for you out front. It's only in the car that Sophie addresses you. I can tell from that look that you took the opportunity. Good for you. That girl's exquisite, don't you think? You wouldn't tell by her demeanor, but she has so much passion. It brings out a unique bouquet in her blood. Her blood was delicious. She knows who we are. I feel like I took advantage. Her blood was delicious, my dude. She was something else, to be sure. Delicious. I could barely stop myself from drinking more. I'm glad you did. She is one of my favorites. Consider tonight special in this regard. I do not share her with just anybody. Time for the next stop. Training wheels off this time. Gregory, Flushing Meadows, please. The driver takes the car over the Williamsburg Bridge. You settle your thoughts. What did you do to the people back there? What's that about training wheels? Why Flushing Meadows? What did you do to the people? Those people back at the hall, they were all entranced. Even I was under your spell. What was that? She smiles with satisfaction. That old trick? Just the blood doing my bidding. We all have our talents. Some of them come from the legacy inherent from our sire. Others can be learned with experience. I can sway people or make them fear me. I see more of the world and in greater detail than some kindred. I can will my body to move with unparalleled precision and grace, and more. All of these skills make me who I am. They also help me hunt. How do I use my powers? How exactly do I use these talents? You will the blood to do your bidding. Many times you'll find you do these things intuitively, almost passively. But making an entire room focus their attention on you, that is tempting the beast. Always keep the masquerade in mind, however. It is fine if you can disappear in plain sight or command animals with your mind, but save those overt talents for the right place and time. It only takes you half an hour to reach the park, and at this time of night, both you and Sophie leave the car, with Gregory left behind again to find a parking spot and keep an eye on the car. Sophie seems deep in thought. She takes in the surroundings with a dreamy gaze. The sky is surprisingly clear tonight, the stars just barely visible in the light-polluted aura of the city. I feel like having a snack myself. I'll be by the fountain. Go, look for somebody to your liking. See what effects you can achieve with your blood, but only pick one victim, just one, then come back. Seeing how she seems not altogether here right now, you decide to leave Sophie to her own devices and seek out your prey. From here, it looks like you have a few choices. Just taking a stroll around the park and finding an isolated jogger or someone like them could work, but focusing on one area might work better. The New York State Pavilion might work as a secluded spot. There's a skate park nearby, and worst case scenario, there's bound to be some unfortunate wino around. Or maybe the tennis court's nearby. There's light coming from there, so somebody might still be playing a late night match. They won't be alone, and they might be tired, and let their guard down. As these scenarios play in your mind, you realize you're planning how to assault a stranger in the middle of the night. It's a weird way to be, but the now familiar hunger prompts you to act. Uh, probably Pavilion. You make your way to one of the park's most well-known landmarks, the round skeleton of the New York State Pavilion with its two vaguely futuristic-looking towers. You don't get lucky with the skate park. It's deserted. Instead, a group of skaters is gathered there, talking loudly and listening to music playing out of crackling smartphone speakers. Deciding to have a quick look around, you identify a potential victim, a sleeping bag lady leaned on a bench, a shopping cart full of what looks like trash nearby. Oh, it's a homeless person! Even thinking of that second option makes you feel sick. You decide to take your chances with the skaters, not even getting close to the homeless woman. You think back to what Sophie did in the hall, how she managed to focus the attention of the entire gathering on her. That might be a tall order for you, but a single person could be doable. You single out a guy who's talking on his phone away from the gathering. He's having a heated discussion with somebody. A relative? A partner? It's not going well. This talk's over. I said shut the fuck up. Hey, you hearing me? Shut up. Call me when you get some fucking sense into your stupid brain, okay? He ends the call abruptly and almost throws the phone to the ground in frustration. He's like that one Vine guy, where it's like, Soto head, throws phone and smashes it, smashes skateboard. Rough night. Hey, sorry to interrupt. Hey man, I need, rough night. He's got an angry expression on his face and tears welling in his eyes, but he gives you a curious look and even a bit of a shy smile. Yeah, you could say that. What's up? Let's talk. Come closer, let's talk. I think you need somebody to talk to right now, yeah? He takes a few steps forward, away from his buddies, who remain totally oblivious to what's happening. But you see your influence fading. You take your chance and lunge. Your fangs sink into his exposed shoulder. He shivers and lets out a moan. His phone hits the pavement and you hear the casing crack. His blood tastes like a clash of hot emotion and melancholy, laced with some artificial stimulant you can't quite place. An energy drink? A recreational drug? It's a strange mix. You hardly have the chance to savor it, as the proximity of the skater friends makes you feel vulnerable. You hastily finish drinking and drag the guy over to the pavilion. When you turn around, you realize you're not alone. Aw, fuck. A hooded man is looking menacingly at you. What do you think you're doing barging in on my turf like this, Lick? Oh, derogatory term usually used to address young, inexperienced vampires. Great. Didn't mean to trespass, I'm gone. I didn't mean to trespass, sorry, I'm going. Too late for that, friendo. You want to leave what you are so you can shove that masquerade misdirection up your ass. Now, better tell me who you're with before my posse shows up and we beat it out of you. I'm with the Camarilla. Chill out, I'm with the Camarilla. He does anything but chill out. He immediately tenses up, gives you an extremely nasty look, and bares his fangs. You with the Ivory Tower cunts, huh? Well, well, well. Tonight's my lucky night. The Ivory Tower, another name for the Camarilla. I'll fuck you up and bring you to Callahan. He'll have some fun breaking your shins, and maybe by the end of it, I'll get to have a nice long sip. I wonder what you taste like, Lick. He does his best impression of Hannibal Lecter's and a nice, jaunty shtick, but he's not as intimidating as he thinks. Run back to Sophie. You take off, fast, faster than you've ever run. The hoodlum has trouble keeping up, but howls behind you like an animal and gives chase anyway. As you reach the Unisphere again, you slow down, noticing two people near the sculpture, a man and woman, tangled in a passionate embrace. No, not exactly. It's Sophie, feeding. But this whole scene is set up to look like a couple getting intimate in public. She pulls it off like she's done it 100 times before. It occurs to you that she probably has. The man is unsure on his feet as she lets go of him and leads him towards a nearby bench. Noticing you, she whispers something into his ear and leaves him. Her driver appears from behind a tree. Well, Porcelain, how did it go? Not great! Some guy's coming after me now! You're about to answer when the same figure as before emerges from one of the alleys. He looks at the three of you and a predatory smile creeps onto his lips. You thought you could run away from me, Lick? Think you'll be safe with your friends? Well, I have friends too. He makes a motion to shout, but two things happen almost at the same time. First, that feeling of warmth and beauty emanating from Sophie flares up again, entrancing both you and the hooded thug. His shout comes out as a weak, confused squeak. Second, Gregory produces a wooden stake from a holster under his jacket and slams it into the thug's chest. Just like that, in a few seconds, the posturing vampire is down on the ground, paralyzed. I see you've made a friend, Porcelain. Curious choice of company, I would say. Who is he? He said he knew I was a vampire. He said I was on his turf. He said I was on his turf, and that I trespassed on it. I thought this place was supposed to be safe. Well, he's not part of the Camarilla. Corona Park hasn't been claimed by anyone I know of. Curious. Let's go to the car. We'll put him in the trunk and present him to Kadir tomorrow night. I'm sure he'll be delighted to make this hoodlum's acquaintance. Gregory carries the staked vampire, dumps him in the car's trunk like a mannequin. The sight gives you a sudden urge to touch your own chest as you remember being treated the same as Kadir. Or from Kadir. Hey, Nate, how are you today? The gaping wound that was still there just last night is now almost gone. Just a tender scar tissue like spot marks. What was a hole in your sternum. It's still as strange a realization as last time. It's almost surprising that you can get away with just casually throwing a stiff into your car and driving away. But then you remember that Sophie has been doing this far longer than you have. Still, the nagging thought that anything you did tonight could have been recorded on a CCTV camera or picked up by a rando with a half-decent smartphone and streamed online fills you with dread. Hunting and using your abilities is a dangerous business. It's clear that this whole being a vampire thing has about as many caveats as it has perks. You're taking out of your headspace by Sophie's voice. I will pick you up tomorrow night, same as tonight. I have some business to attend at the Elysium, and I expect you to accompany me. Plus, our friend in the back needs to be properly introduced to Kadir and the prince. I'm sure he'll have some interesting things to say to the court. Court, the social system of a city's kindred, resembling the feudal system of mortals. At the top is the prince, below them the members of the Primogen Council. Order in the domain is maintained by a sheriff. The gatherings are organized in secret sanctuaries known as Elysiums. Her voice is cold, cruel, and nothing like the enchanting personality she showed at the gallery earlier tonight. Sophie is clearly a woman of many faces. What's going to happen to him? Good riddance, the guy's an asshole. I'd do the same thing in his place. Good riddance. Oh yeah, I can imagine he's going to enjoy meeting Kadir. I hope he gives him a good grilling. This guy's an asshole. Oh, Kadir will enjoy it too, I'm sure. Doing good, just wrapped up work. Gonna run to the store for more supplies, actually. We'll go run to the store! You can watch this later, dude. She pauses, seemingly lost in thought for a while. You haven't told me how your hunting went. Getting the hang of it, I would hope. It'll take some getting used to. It doesn't come naturally. It will with time. You need to think about it less. Hunting is the one scenario in which you'll do well to trust your instincts. In moderation, of course. She seems distracted, not all there. Her thoughts drift and the car remains silent until you reach your apartment. We will pick you up tomorrow evening. Good night. Just like that, without any further courtesy, Sophie leaves, driven to her apartment by Gregory, with a body in the trunk, right in the middle of Manhattan. Did you cross paths with situations like these in the past unknowingly? What other secrets did you pass on the streets without knowing their true nature? Your haven is just as you left it hours ago. Though the sun won't come up for some time, you feel tired. You learned something about yourself today, and it'll take time to process. Haven, a vampire's home or base, where they find sanctuary from the sun. That's pretty clear. You're not in the mood for television, and the few books on the shelves in the apartment are either in languages you don't speak or sound like a boring read. Nothing left to do but rest. You settle in the back room, lock the door. A moment of hesitation, but then indecision. This time you turn the light off. You think back to Julie. How many people in this city know about this vampiric society? How many are willing accomplices in sustaining it? And the thug you met in the park. If he's not Camarilla, then what is he? He's probably part of the Anarch movement. Are there independent vampires? How does that work? More questions. You begin wondering if there's ever going to be a night when you can start crossing them off the list, instead of adding to it. You close your eyes. You sink into the now familiar void of nothingness. It greets you with open arms, like an old friend. I just want to see, okay. You open your eyes. It's pitch dark here, the blackness of a coffin drifting in the abyss. Oh, right, the light. You grasp for the switch, flip it. The familiar cramped room with a steel door and no windows comes into view. You emerge from the bedroom fully awake, just like yesterday. This time, however, Sophie is waiting for you, comfortably seated on the sofa in your living room space, a book in her hand, The Melancholy of Resistance. The title's sure on brand. Good evening, Porcelain. Sorry I kept you waiting, Sophie. To be fair, I haven't been here long. I was enjoying reminiscing about the time when I called this my haven. The decor was much different, of course. Come, we have an appointment. I received word Elysium would be called again tonight on account of your unruly friend from Corona Park. This should be a great opportunity for you to mingle. She keeps talking as you walk downstairs and get in the car. Gregory gives you a slight nod and a small smile while opening the door for Sophie. He starts the car when you take your seat in the back. Most of the Primogen cool council is bound to be there, at least those who usually attend. Probably some other important personalities you do well to at least learn about. The Primogen Council represents the interests of the local kindred and advises the prince on matters of law and rule. Traditionally, it consists of representatives from each of the most prominent clans or factions in the domain, naturally favoring those of the Camarilla, though outsiders are allowed to report any issues to a Primogen not of their own clan. Primogen are often elders, but despite the term, Primogen from Latin means the firstborn, there are no rules in place that this is how it must be. In fact, during the last few decades, more and more councils have seen drastic changes in their structure, or to their structure. Who should I talk to? How should I carry myself? Who should I talk to? Anyone I should talk to when we arrive? Not especially. My advice would be to try to talk to the prince and perhaps reassure her of your gratefulness for being spared. Maybe speak to Kadir on the same topic if you get a hold of him. The Primogen I would advise against. They are rather stuck up, all told, and even if they will talk to you, they might try to secure you for some nefarious purpose. I wouldn't appreciate that. Of course, be respectful to anybody who approaches you and strikes up a conversation. You will no doubt be gossiped about, as will I. Keep a cool head. Some enjoy provoking fledglings into stupid acts. At any rate, you should behave yourself tonight. Remember why I told you about reflecting on me as your patron. I have a reputation to uphold in the court. Do not tarnish it. There it is. She might have saved you. She might be protecting and teaching you, but it's clear what she's really concerned about, her own interests. You step into the art hole with something of a bad memory. The last time you were here, your entire world had been turned upside down and your existence nearly ended. But tonight there is very little outward hostility. Yes, Kadir gives you a look that's definitely intended to remind you of your place, but the prince, also in attendance, seems pleased to see you. Welcome, Sophie, Porcelain. Did I get that right? Good evening to both of you. I understand there is somebody else you wish to present to the court tonight. Yes, Prince, they will be joining us shortly. My assistant is retrieving them presently. This better be worth the prince's time, Langley. The prince gives Kadir a cold glance. Forgive the sheriff's harshness. He's in a particularly foul mood tonight. Something to do with Porcelain's begetter eluding his grasp, I believe. Ouch, that must have hurt his ego, even if his only reply is a crooked smile. The mention of your sire makes you feel a pang of emotion again. Whoever he was, he left a lasting impression. One reinforced with your visit to the show space last night. That's the past. Right now, though, you're back in the gallery and are reminded of your sister instead. Emma frequents this place. Is she aware of these clandestine meetings after dark? The flaring up of whispers in the gallery hall breaks you out of your thoughts. Gregory enters the room, the jumpsuit-clad, inert vampire still staked on his shoulder. The show's about to start. Sophie's driver places his charge in the middle of the room and nods respectfully to Kadir. The sheriff approaches the vampire and removes the stake from his chest. The captive's eyes flicker to life and he starts looking around in disbelief. Like a cornered animal, he backs out on all fours, keeps going in circles until he realizes he's trapped. Kadir steps on the man's chest and pins him to the floor. Why? Who do we have here? Oh fuck, oh shit, no, come on, don't. Silence. The sheriff takes on an aura of utter dread. He appears as if he's a primal force of nature that's out to get you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do but shrivel in terror. The beast inside you shrieks, and you could swear it happens in unison with the instincts of some of the other guests here tonight. It's unlike anything you've experienced in his company during your turbulent first night as a vampire. He really did go easy on you, all things considered. It seems like it takes all of the hoodlum's willpower to not crawl into a fetal position and start crying. No, please, don't hurt me, man, don't. You and me are going to have a little talk downstairs at the prince's discretion. Please, go ahead, my sheriff. You heard the prince. Get up, let's go. He doesn't wait for a confirmation. He just grabs the man and drags him, kicking and screaming out of the room. Conversations start all around you, some whispered, some quite overt. Sophie looks somewhat bored of the whole affair, her eyes wandering from art piece to art piece, clearly finding nothing to her particular liking. Torture in an art gallery. Will Kadir manage on his own? What happens now? So, what happens now? It'll be at least some minutes before Kadir gets the information he seeks out this thug. Why not mingle while we wait for him to break? Excuse me. Sophie leaves your side and goes to a corner of the gallery where a group of kindreds, some seemingly pretty old-fashioned, gathered. A concierge offers you a drink. Still warm. It smells nice. Just a sip to start you off, a splash over your palate, coating your tongue and the inside of your cheeks. Nourishment. You're left to your own devices. You have a quick look around. The prince is currently talking to a dark-skinned woman that you recall seeing here those few nights ago. She has a cold but noble countenance to her. Their conversation seems to be casual. A loud, shrill laugh turns your attention to the bespectacled man who you saw with Sophie on the night of your judgment. He's making the rounds, chatting up different patrons. You feel somebody's eyes on you. A casually dressed, plain-looking man stands alone near a column watching you. He turns his gaze away sheepishly when he realizes you've noticed. Try to talk to the prince, trap the man with the glass. Confront the man looking at me. There's something about this guy. It's not that he's staring at you. Most everybody in this room has at one point or another. It's how he does it. He seems shy, maybe even afraid. It's hard to find a secluded spot in the gallery tonight, but this guy has an entire corner of the room all to himself. As you approach, he's standing alone with no glass in hand, a worried look on his face. Good evening, mister? Larson, or you can call me Robert. Either's fine. So who are you? What's your role in this court? Why are you standing here alone like this? Why are you standing around by yourself like this? I'm not hugely liked around these parts. I'm surprised you wanted to talk to me. Then again, you're new, so you probably don't know. I'm one of Prince Panhardt's primogen. Fuck! I'm here on business in case the prince requires my insight. Usually it's so she can hear me out before ignoring me. Not sure if you were paying attention the other night, but when the prince mentioned diverging opinions or whether you should be executed or not, that was me. I was the diverging opinion. Thank you. That's huge, thank you, even if I didn't change the prince's mind. Or even if it didn't. Yeah, that's usually how it goes. Listen, I don't want to be rude, and I appreciate you reaching out, but word of advice, stay away from me. Fucking fair enough, Robert. Many vampires in the sect regard my position as primogen to be some kind of a joke, you know? You talk to me, they'll notice, and they'll hold it against you. You have a quick look behind you and see that a few of the kindred keep shooting you curious glances. One woman in particular, a redhead, boasting a fanciful hairstyle, watches you disapprovingly. Some of them already do, I imagine. Excuse me, I need to try to get in a word with a few primogen members before Kadir returns. Enjoy your night. With just the critical looks of a few kindred to keep you company, you start thinking about who to pursue next. You know Sophie mingling with other kindred, clearly in her element and not to be disturbed. Kadir hasn't come back yet, so you can probably still find time for at least one conversation. Talk to the prince. You approach the prince, trying to stay as respectful for private conversations as possible. She glances at you as you step forward, her scrutinizing gaze mimicked by her companion. She addresses the dark-skinned woman before turning to you. Excuse me for just a moment, Samira. Yes, Porcelain, what is it? I want to give you my thanks. I wish to thank you for sparing me, Prince. I realize it wasn't an easy decision to make, and I want to express my sincere appreciation. How thoughtful of you. She takes a long look at you before she continues. I didn't do it from the kindness of my unbeating heart. You are an asset to Miss Langley, to the Camarilla, and to me. I believe I made the right decision. Prove to me and the other kindred of the city that it was so, and there might be more to your future nights than just survival and servitude. The dark-skinned woman looks impatiently at you and catches the prince's attention. Forgive me, that's all the time I can spare right now. We have some things to discuss with Samarilla still. Enjoy your night, Porcelain. Just bow and leave. You leave the two women to their conversation, which they get back to almost immediately after the prince turns to Samira. A loud exchange near the staircase grabs everybody's attention. Kadir is back and the hoodlum is with him. The sheriff pushes the other vampire inside the room. The vampire that threatened you last night is a mess. That stupid hat is still inexplicably on his head, covering some of his ruined face in welcome shadow. He's barely conscious. His shin is broken, you think. Something protruding there, making the pant leg bulge. One arm seems twisted at a strange angle. Very little blood, surprisingly, but clearly a whole lot of hurt. Well, Kadir, did our guest cooperate? Tell the prince your name. It's Howard. And who do you run with, Howard? The Midnighters. An anarch coterie, my prince, active for some time now, though from what this one told me, the name is about the only legacy the group has kept over the years. The anarch movement. Coterie, a small group of kindred united by the needs of support and sometimes common interests. The anarch movement, vampire sect that opposes the tyranny of elders and has placed itself outside the secret society of the Camarilla. I see. Hey, Prince, I didn't mean it. I didn't know. I didn't. A loud crack makes some of the guests audibly gasp as Kadir's slap dislocates the man's jaw. Spray of blood creates something like an abstract art piece on the floor. This one is guilty of threatening a member of the Camarilla and claiming a domain without the prince's approval. That alone would be enough to pass swift judgment, but he's also anarch scum. My prince? There can be one verdict. Final death. Do your duty, Sheriff. Final death when a vampire ceases to exist, crossing the line from undeath into true death. Unless, of course, somebody would like to play at being a good Samaritan like our dear Miss Langley a few nights ago. The look the prince serves you and Sophie is a cruel jest. Sophie takes it gracefully, smiling and slipping her arm around yours in a strange public show of affection. Nobody says anything. The vampire named Tower jumps to his feet and makes for the window. Stop, Howard. Do not intervene. Grab him. In a split second, you make your choice. Focusing your blood, you dash forward and grab Howard by the back of his jumpsuit, pulling him away from the window. You expect some resistance, but find you don't have to worry about it when a swift cut separates Howard's head from his body. You let go, and the headless corpse slumps to the ground. Great. Kadir is standing between you and the window, his sword drawn and an ugly smile on his face. Well, Porcelain, your eagerness is laudable if unnecessary. That Howard fellow couldn't have hoped to escape his fate, not facing Kadir's expertise. However, I have made note of this show of loyalty on both your and your patron's accounts. I would like to thank Miss Langley for bringing this anarch thug to mine Kadir's attention. I assume all have found the verdict satisfactory? It's a rhetorical question, everybody here knows it. Then I consider tonight's meeting concluded. Good night to all of you. She steps out of the room, and you see that many of the guests move to do the same. Sophie seems to be conversing with somebody, a serious-looking man in a trench coat, about what transpired. You probably have time to strike up a conversation of your own, too. Kadir al-Asami is still here, for one, but clearly getting ready to leave. Larson is still moping around, and the other man you noticed before Kadir brought the anarch is still chatting with the remaining attendants. Talk to Kadir. The sheriff's mood seems to have improved, so you decide you won't get a better shot at saying your piece. He is just sheathing his sword as you approach him. He notices you just before his face turns from a melancholic frown back to his regular predatory smirk. You seem to have caught him in a moment of reflection. What is it, Porcelain? I want to say... thanks, man. I want to thank you for bringing me here in one piece, for giving me a chance. An emotion creeps into Kadir's face that you haven't seen the sheriff exhibit yet. Is that gratitude? It's fleeting, only there for a moment, gone in the blink of an eye. It was trying on my nerves, and you were still far and away from proving that it was the right thing to do, so don't think that a few kind words will let you off the hook. Still, I have to admit, I was surprised at the prince when you jumped at the opportunity to stop that anarch from escaping. I was sure Valerie would have beat you to it. If there's nothing else, I'll be taking my leave. Hey, good job. Yay. Didn't miss much, man. You're good. A guy got his head cut off, but that's about it. Why are you so mean? Do you enjoy being sheriff? You enjoy being sheriff, man? Tell me, do you enjoy this, being a sheriff for Prince Panhard? Enjoyment has nothing to do with this. It is my duty. When Kelbros asked me to fill the shoes of the sheriff and root out our enemies, I was glad to serve the sect. When Helene became prince and asked that I keep doing this, I agreed, because I believe in the Camarilla and I respect that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. He picks up the sword and turns toward the stairs. If more kindred understood that, my job would be much duller, though. On that note, I wish you a good night. And watch yourself. You messed up my batting average, so I'll be sure to keep a close eye on you. With that final threat, he leaves the gallery. It's right about when Sophie also ends her conversation and walks over to you. Interesting evening, wasn't it? Come, Gregory's waiting downstairs. She seems preoccupied with something, and not in a talkative mood. It's an awkward ride back to the city. This time you arrive at another building, just 2 streets across from your apartment. She brings you upstairs through a very nice lobby and a luxurious-looking hall into her domain. Please have a seat. I shall be right with you. You take in your surroundings. The apartment is like a gallery, an old-school smoking room that you've seen in some period piece once, and a nouveau riche's living room, meticulously combined together. Apologies, old habits die hard. Clearly some stick with you even after your death. She drags on her cigarette and breathes out. Breeze? How is she doing that? Can you do that? Oh yes, you might not know. It takes some practice, but you can keep smoking if you like. Other things too. Experiment. You might surprise yourself. But I did not bring you here to show off. This is where I rest these nights. That door in the back, the bedroom, similar to yours. I have servants and bodyguards in addition, of course. I brought you here because I need you to trust me. When I told you Before that, I needed your best behavior to uphold my good standing with the court. I meant it. But that's not the whole story. I have your interests in mind too. That's why I'm giving you your own haven, why I'm trying to teach you how to navigate this new reality. But you need to trust me or else this won't work. You can come here whenever you feel like asking me something, when you're in trouble too, though I hope that won't happen often. I would ask you to come here when you wake up tomorrow. I'll have something to discuss with you. Um, I'll be here. Okay, I'll come over first thing tomorrow night. I appreciate that. That silence again. There's definitely something on Sophie's mind tonight, but she doesn't seem eager to share with you just yet. I'm leaving for another visit. Come downstairs with me. We'll give you a lift. A quick trip. I promise that you'll show up tomorrow and some polite goodbyes later. You open the door to your haven and gather your thoughts. It's exciting in a way, being dragged deeper and deeper into the secret society and its rules. Whatever Sophie has planned for you, it's bound to teach you more than this thing you've become. You sink into your vampiric sleep with just a sliver of hope. It's a welcome change. All right, we'll rest, and then that will be it for today. We'll probably do 2 days a piece, seeing as they won't be as long. So, let's see. Yeah, that's about 40 minutes, so that's good. I don't know. I don't know how long this game is. I'm gonna guess not super long, considering it was like, I don't know, $5 I think when I bought it, but that was on sale. But anyways, I thank you all. I don't know why I'm speaking like that. Thank you for watching. If it's a lot of reading, it is a lot of reading. It does make my voice very sore, which is fine. It just means that streams might be every other day, so that way I can give my voice a break in the in-between days. But we'll see. So far, I'm enjoying it. I actually do enjoy kind of like these visual novel games. Like, I love Doki Doki Literature Club. It is such a good game. I understand it's not everyone's cup of tea, though, and these videos probably won't do as well as, like, my Resident Evil series does, but that's okay. And I do have the next game lined up for the one after this, but this is like a palate cleanser, you know? Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. If you want to keep up with Vampire the Masquerade, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and click the notification icon to know whenever I go live. If you like the video, please give it a like, and if you can, please donate to Extra Life. We help sick kids, we raise money, play video games, all of that good stuff. So, that's pretty much it. Thank y'all so much for watching. Love you as always, and I'll see you next time. Bye!